So I wanted to follow up on the video that I did a few days ago. This past weekend, I went to look at a fire damaged property with over $900,000 in liens on it from the violations. If you haven't seen the video, go check it out. But this is actually the property right here. So I wanted to talk to you about how do you start working on a deal like this to make sure it's even going to be a deal for you. Well, the first thing that you want to do is you want to go to code enforcement and get a list of the violations. Start to understand what was causing these issues, what caused the violations and the liens in the first place. So once I get that list from the code enforcement, then I can start to kind of understand not only what's going on with the property and what the violations are, but also how to cure them. Because that's going to be the important thing, is understanding the cure for those and to see what type of cost is that going to incur. Now, this is a fire damaged property. It's been sitting vacant for 10 years. It needs a complete rehab. So pretty much all of the violations will be cured from pulling the roofing permits, the electrical and plumbing permits, from doing architectural drawings on the inside because we have to rebuild the kitchen and walls and everything else because of the fire. So what I also will be doing next week is I'll be meeting actually with code enforcement and the building department and start talking about what permits are going to be required and start getting an idea of the cost of this. Then you also want to make sure that you have a conversation and try to understand what the amnesty program is. This is Deerfield Beach. So they generally have an amnesty program where they reduce the liens and violations as a standard to 10%. But 10% is still going to be over $90,000. So that's going to be more money than I'm probably going to want to pay. So what I'm going to do is meet with them next week, get a little bit of an idea of maybe where I think that this could be reduced to. But the most important thing is that you protect yourself. I'm going to put this property in contract. This is not going to be a wholesale deal. I'm actually going to put this property in contract for us to fix it and flip it ourselves. But what I want to make sure is that I'm making an offer to my seller that's going to be attractive for them, to motivate them to allow me to be the one to buy the property. But I also don't want to offer them too much so that if I do have to end up paying a full 10% or more of those liens and violations on top of all of the permitting, on top of the $180,000 to $200,000 budget that it will take to rebuild that house, I want to make sure I have enough room there. So one of the things that I'm going to be considering is making an offer on this property, and it's going to be sort of a contingency. It'll be, this is the money that I can offer you now, and if we get the fines and everything reduced to a certain specific amount, and I have a lot of room for for profit, then maybe what I'll do is talk to the seller about cutting them in as a partner and give them a percentage of that on the back end. So it's like they're helping me out now. If I pick the property up for a really low price, put a little bit of cash in their pocket, and if I have to end up paying a lot on the liens and violations, well, then, that's going to adjust how much they're going to get on the back end, and I'll still be making, a profit. I'm still protecting myself. Whereas if I really get them, the fines and liens reduced, not only is that more profit for me, but it's also more money that I can give to the seller and the family that's selling this property. I always like to make, win-win situations. So that's the way I'm going to start, working on it by next week. I'll give you guys an update on this property and let you know if I get it in contract.